Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to day one of XD's Daily Challenge. I'm Marc Risen. I'll be hosting for the next half hour. Also, make sure to stick around. We've got some guests coming in for Adobe Live, so join us for the first 25 minutes to take part in our daily challenge. Make sure to grab your moon boots because we're about to be transported. We've got an exciting challenge today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be focusing on an activity tracker, which will be the prompt. So for those of you that already signed up, you probably should have received an email. I'll go ahead and just show that email as it showed up in my inbox. I had to search for Adobe Creative Cloud, so just in case this is showing up somewhere else in your inbox, that's okay, but you're going to get an email, and the email basically frames the prompt. It'll give you all the details, and it's a great way just to kind of grab your bearings, understand what we're going to be focusing on prior to us going live. For those of you that are new, thank you so much for joining us. Simon, good to see you again. You were around yesterday. Sean, thanks for coming in. So for those of you that are new, if you go to this website, which is adobelanding.com/daily challenge, this is where you'll be able to sign up and register. This is how you basically get access to the email. This is how you get access to the content. Just go ahead, enter your name, enter your email, and get started, and that'll go ahead and put you on the register for the email and to receive all the content. So again, for yesterday, one of the focuses for the daily challenge was a splash screen, and we spent probably about 5 to 10 minutes just covering the basics of what a splash screen is. I can review a little bit of that content real quick. So what we did is we went over a couple examples, grabbed some screenshots. As you can see, there's some pretty consistent themes with how the splash screens are all orientated and designed. You've got some big color blocks, you've got a floating logo. And then what we did is we created our own splash screen. And this was the prompt for everybody, so we got a lot of great submissions. I'll be actually pulling a couple of those up just to talk about and to share. It'll be a good opportunity to provide a little bit of feedback and also just share with the community what other designers have done. So as I mentioned today, we're going to be focused on an activity tracker. Let's just talk a little bit about the daily challenge. So I'm sure you've heard of daily challenges just probably in about any theme, but for design, it's a really good way for you to spend a little bit of time each day honing your craft, learning new things, trying out new things, maybe getting exposure to new ways to design, new ways to have shortcuts and hotkeys, or how you maybe approach your design. And we'll be focusing on all that in XD today. It's a great way to join in the community. We've got a Slack room, which I'll talk about and share a little bit, which anybody can join and participate in. I think we have a link for the Slack room, but if you wanted to share your designs, you wanted to get feedback from myself, Michael, Leah, anybody else that's in the community, it's a great opportunity to share your designs in progress with us. I'm pretty active in there, so it's nice to see everybody submitting ideas, and more importantly, responding to the feedback and seeing how people evolve and iterate their designs. So what else? The daily challenge is going to be going on up until Friday of next week. So every morning you can join me at 9 a.m. until about 9:25, 9:30. And we'll be going over the prompt. We'll be covering the basics and just kind of getting into maybe a little bit of the demo of what we'll be covering that day. So let's take a look at some of the submissions that we got yesterday from a few of the people. So this was a submission from Dan Miller. So this was a splash screen. Let me full screen here a little bit for your viewing pleasure. So really kind of hitting all the main focuses of what a splash screen is meant to accomplish. You kind of have a full screen or full bleed image, whether it's colors or whether it's graphics. It's really meant to kind of encompass the whole screen. And then you're showing a little bit hint of the call to actions that could maybe transition from this splash screen. And then you've got the logo floating front and center. So a really nice take. I think compositionally, this is a really nice way to show your work in a professional manner. We're showing it in situ, or we're showing it on a device, which really helps viewers or the audience kind of grab the context of what platform or what device this is on. And then we're also showing it in a composition where you're seeing the layering of background. You've got a really nice drop shadow. So Dan, really nice job. Really went above and beyond in the execution, but you also have a really nice portfolio piece or way to just demonstrate your work. And really nice also just to show the transition from the actual splash screen image into the main content view. So let's take a look at a few more. Here we've got a submission. So this is also starting out from kind of the launch view, which was something that we established from the splash screen is when you're mainly encountering the splash screen. So on launch from an application icon is when you'll see the splash screen kind of take over the whole screen. And the splash screen is meant to kind of give you a little bit of time to allow the content to load in the background without having to necessarily have the customer or the user associate waiting with some type of loading icon. So here we're seeing a nice full bleed image. In this case, the icon isn't white, which is awesome. I think it's a really nice take and iteration. The icons definitely don't have to be explicitly white. It sometimes makes things easier just in regard to legibility, but we've got a really nice full bleed image. We've got the icon floating front and center. And then we can see how maybe once that screen fades into the background, how that would transition into the loading screen and then into the sign-up forms. Really nice submission, very clean, nice use of colors, really good use of staying within the constraints of your color palette. We've got the blues, the blacks, and the light blues, so my eye is definitely focusing into the icon and then directly to the call to action, which is a really nice way to execute on a sign-up form. Another example from the launch screen. This is from Marc. 2 Marcs don't make it right, but I like how you spell your names. That's awesome. Same execution, same theme that we're focusing on. We've got full bleed color image. We've got a nice logo front and center. Definitely a vibrant red juxtaposed to the kind of deep blue. And so this is this is kind of the next step beyond the splash screen loading to where then you get into the sign up or the login form. So that's really nice transition, really good use of colors, very consistent experience. Even though we're not able to click through this prototype, we can kind of get an idea of how you would use this app. And some blockchain examples. So here we're seeing an example that's kind of closer to some of the examples we showed yesterday with the white icon, full bleed image. So overall, everybody that submitted your work, thank you so much for sharing. Each time that we come in for the daily challenge, we'll be reviewing and recapping some of the work that we saw yesterday and some of the work that we also completed. And so it's a great opportunity for new designers and people who are experienced designers to not only share their work, but also get visibility into the community and to see how others are creating their own designs and to get inspired. So we'll do that every day. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be focused on an activity tracker, and I've gathered a couple examples, and this will kind of be the format each day. Is we'll come in, we'll talk a little bit about the daily challenge and why it's important. For those of you, we're focused on XD. XD had an announcement yesterday, which is now free based off of their starter plan. So now XD can be used pretty much by anyone, which is actually really incredible. I think putting powerful tools like this into the hands of creatives is a really good way to foster creativity and give people the opportunity to explore designs. So make sure you download XD if you haven't. Also make sure to sign up for Behance, because what we're going to be doing at the end of this demo is we'll be exporting our work and uploading it into Behance, and we'll be tagging that with XD Daily Challenge, which is a way that you'll be able to sort your work. I can show a quick example here. Let's see. So this is what we loaded up yesterday. I've got it into a project. I'll be adding more work to that today so we can kind of continue through the theme of the XD challenge, and I'll show everybody how to upload their work. All right, so activity tracker is the theme. I grabbed a few of my kind of favorite examples. I think the one on the left is either Nike Plus or maybe some early iterations of Nike Fuel. So obviously, really, really nice use of colors, very high contrast. You've got a progress tracker that's measuring your steps. Fitbit is a really nice example of kind of a clean white experience. Great use of a lot of color, which is a really nice contrast to kind of the dark UI that Nike is using. And then on the right, I believe this is the Jawbone up tracker. And so this is kind of measuring your sleep cycle. So I think anytime you're working on an activity tracker, it most certainly implies that you're going to use some graphs or you're going to use some charts. I think it's important to think about a little bit what you're tracking and what's going to be important. In each of these cases, they're prioritizing steps. That's making great use of the device and allowing people to kind of keep track of their progress. And then you're also measuring sleep, which is a good way for you to kind of get a view into maybe what your sleep schedule is like, and whether or not you're well rested, and how that's going to kind of impact your day. There's some other things in here, and we'll use components from each of these as some type of inspiration, which will help us kind of formulate our design and create a design through our demos. So why don't we go ahead and get started on that. I thought about this, and I thought what would be kind of fun for an activity tracker is let's just imagine that we've colonized on Mars, and so it's just as important for people to keep track of their steps and to also make sure to have an activity tracker while they're on Mars. So I thought it'd be really fun just to kind of do a space Mars theme for the activity tracker. So I've got my Adobe Creative Library open over here, and I've started to organize a few assets that I'm going to use in my design. I wanted to change a little bit of what I was seeing in the activity tracker by adding a little bit more visual interest by adding some imagery, and I felt like Mars would be a really interesting backdrop or piece to add to the composition. And I created a transitional gradient that is going to kind of cover the image and bleed over the image, which is going to allow me to find an area where I can put the interface details and put all the content within that. So I started thinking about this, and I was asking myself, well, what are some of the things that you probably want to track on Mars? Because maybe running isn't as likely of an outcome, being that it's Mars is about 38% the gravity of Earth. So it started getting a little bit interesting. Maybe you could measure skips, maybe you could measure jumps, or the length at which you're jumping. So I thought that would be kind of fun to explore, maybe refreshing. I'm dragging some symbols that I found last night to help me kind of establish a little bit of what the theme is. And so in this case, I'm trying to show an icon where someone's jumping. And maybe this will be something that we measure, which is the length at which someone is jumping in kind of a different gravity situation. Some of these are labeled. So let's kind of imply a destination. Let's say that we're on Mars. Maybe we'll call this the Elon Musk loop. And so this is a good way to just kind of get into the theme. Imagine you're out on Mars. You want to kind of keep track of your activity. Maybe you're running on some type of road, or you're on some type of pathway. And let's say that the overall loop is, I don't know, maybe it's 900 meters. I feel like you could probably cover a lot more distance in Mars than you could maybe on Earth, since you're floating half of the time. And maybe one of the things that we'll keep track of is kind of your longest jump. So let's say you went from 0 meters all the way up to, let's say maybe you were able to cover like over 50 meters in this single skip. Maybe put a little indication of what that distance could look like. I'll go back to some of the reference. So kind of using this as inspiration for the sleep measurement and the duration. So in here, we're kind of maybe covering the distance, but then maybe we can use this kind of timestamp as a way to say the duration at which you were taking these steps. So let's say this was 1 hour and 32 minutes. Maybe we can put a detail down here that's kind of distance length or distance over time. So let's see what else we could add in here. I think there's probably some other things that you would measure. So I think skip measurement would be something that's important. So maybe how many skips you did. It's a little bit harder to get traction in a different gravitational situation. So let's maybe do skips. 32 skips. And then what I'll do is I'll use the repeat grid here to kind of establish maybe other measurements that we can track in here. So let's focus on 3 for now. I'm trying to make sure that when I space all this out, we've got enough center alignment. So what else? Maybe air time? Maybe how much time you spend in the air could be something that you measure. So ungroup that. So maybe you were in the air for 15 minutes. So we've got skips, we've got airtime. Maybe the next measurement would be your gait. So this is kind of how you run, knowing that this would be impacted also by different gravitational situation. So let's just say your gait was, I don't know, let's see, this would probably be measurement in maybe centimeters. Let's say it's like 300 centimeters or something. All right, so we're starting to fill out our composition. We're starting to get a hint of maybe what this activity tracker could look like. I don't feel like it would be an activity tracker if we actually didn't have some type of graph on here. So what I'll do is, still using the repeat grid, is I'll try to think of how maybe we could imply what the motion and what the travel would look like on another planet. And then I'll come in and I'm going to ungroup each of these so that we can kind of model maybe what the ups and downs would look like. So this is kind of a way to signify maybe how you're leaping or traveling. Let's put some rounded corners on those just to make it a little bit less sharp. And then we'll take this again, and then now what I'll use is the repeat grid to kind of model what this overall graphic could look like. So far, just basically in about a short 10 minutes, we've been able to, one, kind of focus on our theme, two, try to think of some metrics. I mean, obviously I'm picking fun metrics here. I think that this is a really cool like problem or use case to think about of what type of steps would you measure, or what would that look like on a different planet with different gravity. Some things that are probably also important in here, maybe oxygen levels is something that you'd want to consider or call out. And so we can add those in later on. I'll try to finish that up throughout the day. Let's just really quickly show you how to have you contribute to the XD challenge. So I'm going to select my artboard, and then I'm going to export selected. And then I will put this in my activity tracker folder. Let's call this Mars activity tracker. And we'll export that. And then I'm gonna come back to my project on Behance. And if you've already created something yesterday and you've already taken part in the challenge, that's awesome. You can go ahead and add this to your existing project, which is what I'm going to do. If you're just getting started, you can create a new project or sign into Behance, and then follow the prompts. A couple quick things to remember. So let's just upload a new file, which is our activity tracker. So I'll upload this. And so that's going to show up, sorry, Hugo. So that's going to show up basically in your composition that you've already selected. Another thing to keep in mind is if you go over to the settings, as you add this content, you definitely want to select either UI or UX, maybe as just your basic info. But for discoverability, make sure to add XD Daily Challenge as the tag. This is the way that we're going to surface your work. This is the way that we're going to get access and visibility to all the people in the community that are contributing. And this is how we're going to be able to share and talk about your work in the next day. So we've uploaded this new project. We'll save that. That's now going to be live. It's going to be in the XD Challenge hashtag. For those of you that are sticking around, you know, we're going to be active in the Slack channel throughout the day. So use this as an opportunity. We have a couple rooms and a couple topics where we're discussing things like design feedback. Also, come in and make an introduction. It's really nice to see how everybody throughout the day is able to progress and respond to feedback and iterate on their work. So use this channel and join the Slack channel. Say hi, let us know how you're progressing on your work. Use it as an opportunity to kind of potentially get unstuck for some of the things that you need. And then what we'll be able to do is respond to your work, provide actionable feedback, and hopefully help, you know, use the community as a way to push your designs a little bit further. So as I mentioned previously, just real quick, make sure to sign up for the Daily Creative Challenge. You'll get your email prompt each and every day for the next 8 days. I think we're doing this up until Friday of next week. Make sure to sign up, and that's going to be a great way for you to kind of join the community and get involved with the daily prompt so that we can take on new challenges. We got another challenge that we'll be focusing on tomorrow. So I'll be here starting at 9 a.m. with you again. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out in the Slack channel. I know myself, Paul, Michael, everybody will be really active in there. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing your submissions. So I'm going to kind of maybe try to take the next couple minutes and see if I can't maybe model some type of oxygen measurement real quick in here. So let's see if we can't create something really quick. Try to measure your O2 levels. We got 1 minute left. Let's see if I can do this. So you're at 85% oxygen. Whoa. Let's see if we can maybe use a different color here. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. So thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Really appreciate everybody that's partaking in the daily challenge. Looking forward to seeing everybody's submissions. Make sure to tune in, reach out on the Slack channel. and we look forward to seeing everybody's work. So have a great day, and we'll see you in our Adobe Live session.